RAM mixed flow fan and BAY6 filter kits cater for a really wide variety of growers, offering excellent value for money based on the quality of components, ease of use, and general affordability. In this video, we're going to show you how to set up one of these kit bundles to create a complete extraction system. Each and every RAM mixed flow fan and BAY6 filter kit consists of the following parts: a RAM mixed flow extractor fan, which moves the air and includes two different speed settings, a BAY6 carbon filter, which stops unpleasant odours from leaving the grow space, a length of BAY6 combi ducting, which carries and directs the air being moved, and a set of duct clips, which are used to connect a piece of the combi ducting to the exhaust end of the fan, and a smaller piece of the combi ducting between the intake end of the fan and the filter. You'll need hanging equipment too, which is usually a combination of chain and S-hooks, or alternatively rope ratchets. And a fan speed controller should also be on your list for consideration. Whilst the system will work without one, employing a device to manage your extractor fan, and intake fan if you have one, offers up many advantages and keeps temperatures under control whilst providing a small amount of negative pressure. By this we mean that just a little bit more air is removed from an area than is introduced, helping to stop your tent from inflating and also preventing the unwanted escape of smells. Your extraction system should work in unison with your other ventilation and environmental equipment, such as any intake fan in use, bringing fresh CO2-rich air into your room, any air circulators, mixing the air to prevent stale pockets and microclimates from forming, and any CO2 products, humidifiers or dehumidifiers, and heaters running during the winter. In terms of where to locate your extraction system, we recommend hanging it at the top of the growing area, with the air exiting the tent or room from an opposite corner to where you intend to bring fresh air in, typically via an intake fan or an opened vent positioned low down. This arrangement prevents you from immediately extracting away the fresher air coming in. We suggest connecting everything up on the floor. Here you can also measure and create the loops of chain that you'll need to hold the filter. Admittedly, our preference is to opt for rope ratchets to hang the equipment, but in our example, we show this marginally more difficult method of using chain to assist anyone attempting it. Making a cradle to hold the filter is suitable for a small system if you're hanging up one alone. The extraction system is installed in an XL grow tent that'll eventually house a single 600 watt HPS light. The same principles apply for a grow room, only you'll need a number of ceiling hooks. Please make sure the weight of the extraction system can be accommodated. Setting up a RAM mixed flow fan and BAY6 filter kit. Consider plugging in and turning on your fan prior to setup to check that it works. Position the RAM mixed flow fan and BAY6 carbon filter on the floor, ensuring that the arrow on the fan points in the opposite direction to the filter. This indicates the direction of airflow. Cut a small piece of ducting to sit between the fan and the filter. Use a duct clip to connect one end of the small piece of ducting to the spigot on the filter. Use a duct clip to connect the other end of the small piece of ducting to the correct intake end of the RAM mixed flow fan, making sure that the arrow on the fan continues to point in the opposite direction to the filter. Use a duct clip to connect one end of the remaining length of ducting to the open exhaust end of the RAM mixed flow fan. Loop two lengths of chain around the carbon filter and resize accordingly to create a cradle for the carbon filter. You'll want to make sure the filter is able to be located high up in your grow tent. Move the support bars in your tent to where they are needed and put the chain for the carbon filter into position. Create a small loop of chain on the support bar for holding the fan. Create a hanging point on the fan with a small piece of chain. Attach the bottom of an S-hook to the hanging point on the fan. Move the extraction system into your tent and line it up underneath the hanging equipment. Carefully lift the extraction system and attach the top of the S-hook connected to the fan onto the small loop of chain created to hold it. Carefully maneuver the carbon filter through the two loops of chain so that it is supported by the cradle. You may need to adjust the chain to get the equipment sitting level, which is important for good, unrestricted airflow. Push the length of ducting coming out from your fan through an available port on the tent. Exit your tent and pull through the ducting so that it is taut. Re-enter the tent and connect the power lead to your fan. Feed the other end through a small port and plug it into a main socket or a controller. Tighten up all of the drawstrings on all of the port socks. Here's a top tip for you. If you're having trouble fitting your ducting to either your fan or your filter, You can use tape to hold it in place whilst you put the duct clip on. To get the best out of your extraction system and overall ventilation setup, we recommend following these guidelines. Ideally, run the ducting from your extraction system through a drilled hole to your loft, or up into a chimney, or through a wall and straight outdoors. Failing that, take it to an open window or a separate room with an open window. You want to avoid just constantly recirculating the same air within the growing space, i.e. putting a tent in a room and just shutting the door on it. For a stable temperature, draw air into your grow room from another indoor room rather than from outside by positioning your intake fan or intake ducting to be able to do so. This will bring in a constant supply of CO2 and help with fluctuating humidity levels. You'll also benefit come the winter when the outside air is too cold for plants. Pick an intake fan that's at least 20% less powerful than your extractor fan, or run a similar fan at a 20% lower speed. Either option promises to provide enough negative pressure. Depending on how it's set up, use a bug blocker on your intake fan or intake ducting. Any measure that stops pests accessing your plants is worth the effort in our book. Try to keep ducting as short and as straight as possible, because you'll find that the longer the length of ducting, the greater the pressure drop, which ultimately reduces airflow. Use metal bends if corners are required, and consider a fast clamp to increase efficiency. Operate your extraction and intake fans 24/7. With a fan speed controller, you can speed up or slow down fans to maintain optimum conditions when lights are on and off. Keep an eye on your carbon filter sleeve, also known as the pre-filter, as this collects particles before they get sucked into the charcoal. We recommend putting these in the washing machine with no detergent whenever they start to look dirty. Under normal operating conditions, replace a BAY6 carbon filter every 9 months. However, if your filter has been exposed to prolonged periods of high humidity, this can shorten the life of the product, another reason for good environmental control. For any questions that you may have, please leave a comment below and we'll try our best to answer. Don't forget to give us a like if you found this video helpful, and subscribe to our channel for more high quality, regularly released content. We also offer step-by-step guides in setting up other kinds of extraction. Check out this video on how to set up an RVK extraction kit.